Hello, and welcome back to Suzerain, the Kingdom of Rizia in Ramus Taurus. And to start today's episode, I am looking around, because I went to look at increased health and education funding, if we wanted to promise that. Is 2 authority and 3 budget. And the thing about that is, if I wanted to, for example, do this, that's 3 budget. If I wanted to do this, that's all 5 budget, which is another thing I was thinking of doing. So, like, the things I want to do would be something I can't quite do easily if I want to do this for them. But I also kind of want to, because I don't want to disperse them. But I also don't want to just let them protest, because that'll lose me authority without me getting any royal decrees. So, like, I don't want to allow protest, because that's -1 authority for nothing. I don't want to disperse the protesters, because that's +1 authority, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to make people angry. So, I'm going to promise increased health and education funds. Protest Gallus Gates. 1,000 protesters have gathered outside the Monke's Palace, complaining about the state of our welfare system. After rousing speeches by local community leaders, the crowd slowly started to disperse, with the protests over by early evening. And I think I'm going to immediately do that. Increase health and education funding. Sign. Royal decree drastically increased welfare funding. In order to strengthen the state healthcare and education system, the king has signed a new decree allowing for additional funds to be allocated in these institutions. A small sum has been allocated to furthering medical research to reduce even more horrible diseases to a story of the past. This unwavering commitment to the people shows how much the crown cares about the Rizian populace, and we can only repay this commitment by showing the same amount of loyalty to our king. Increased welfare funding. Welfare funding has been significantly increased to provide greater support and resources to vulnerable individuals and families within the kingdom, improving access to essential services and enhancing overall well-being. Also, our buildings are continuing to build up well. I think I will. Let's see. I'm going to go to trade. Yeah. I think I will do, a small third global energy sale, just so I can stay at 3 budget. Ooh. I do not like that -2 per turn from higher welfare expenditures, but... And I have -1 from angered religious groups. Eh. Yeah, this is not good at all, but, what you gonna do? I am gonna do one more small energy sale just to keep me at 3 budget, because I've noticed a lot of things cost 3 in, like, these sort of events, so I want to have 3 just in case I'm asked if I want to pay for something, and I want to. So I'm just gonna hold that there. I'd called a council meeting in Fort Alice to discuss her strategy in Pale's gas dispute. The city was named after its most famous building, a Valgish fortress, that has now served as the government headquarters for the Pale's administrative district. Titus escorted me down the hallway to a nondescript conference room, where Rento, Lucita, Elena, and Hugo were already waiting. My daughter had requested to stay home this time around, claiming she was feeling unwell. Oh, that's too bad. I took a seat across from Lucitia. Oh my god, this is gonna get, I'm gonna need to calm down and stop laughing and getting flustered every time a little thing happens in this game that's like, ooh, you could look at her. I'm gonna look at her. We made eye contact for a brief moment. She blushed. The other counselors didn't seem to notice. Darn it, game. The moment this happened, there was no way I was gonna resist this. I'm just, I'm me. I can't. The only reason I haven't showed this off much is none of the Hearts of Iron 4 Question War doesn't have that many shipping things in it, and the base game of Suzerain had, like, you were already married and the relationship was fine, but it wasn't like this, like, there's a difference between, you know, just a nice married relationship where people are happy, and this beginning of, like, a little romance or tryst or, like, whatever, where it's like, they look at each other for a moment and look away as they saw each other, and they're blushing, and, oh, did the rest of them notice? But they didn't, because no one noticed. They're too busy talking about what's important, but you're distracted. Do they see you the same way? Is there really a connection? Is it real? Could it be more? Or is it just a little tingle that'll disappear with time? And like, I'm sorry. I need to actually read the stuff. I've probably spent like half of this video so far just fangirling. I'm sorry. I'll get through this. Good morning, Your Majesty. Should we fill you in on the situation so far? Yes, please. I'll take it from here. As you know, our joint team of researchers recently completed their assessment of the gas field between Pales and Rizia, tentatively nicknamed Arius. The Rizian surveys determined that the field lay both in Rizian and Plesian territory. However, a few days after our team returned to port, received the news that Plesians had made a different decision. Duke Reinhardt is now under the impression that the entire gas field belongs to Pales. He's ordered the exploration and drilling begin immediately. Lucitia had a worried look on her face. Plesian drill ships departed the port of Remez at 0800 this morning and is expected to reach the field by this time tomorrow. Your Majesty, I've advocated for caution regarding Pales in the past, but this strikes me with highly concerning. I completely agree, Lucitia. We cannot ignore this obvious provocation. Hugo cast a sidelong glance at my use of Lucitia's first name. Provocation or not, it indeed mustn't be ignored. I called this meeting today to decide our course of action. We have a meeting set with Duke Reinhardt in 2 days, by which time the ship will have reached its destination. It is my hope that the Plesians are still open to negotiating the field's ownership, but this is just a tactic to give them an edge. You're getting ahead of yourself, Lorinto. The king should be informed about this dispute as possible before heading to Pales. You're right as usual, Miss Werner. I want to know everything I can about the disputed field. Then where should we start, Your Majesty? Well, why is this a dispute? I thought our maritime borders were clear. They've been shifting for the past century. The late Empire of Valgos used to control the waters between Pales and Calabiz, but the area came into question when the island joined Rizia in 1855. Since then, both Rizia and Pales have variously claimed ownership of these waters and resources therein. The borders that Rizia recognized today are the ones defined by the 1942 AN Directive on offshore resources. According to those, the field should be split almost exactly evenly between our two countries. Also, this is just so greedy, Pales. You're claiming that all of it is yours. We're claiming that we should split it half and half. Like, we're the reasonable ones here. We're literally saying, hey, let's split it half and half. I think half is in our land and half is in yours. Let's split it. We'll both get benefits off this. Everything's good. And you're like, it's all mine. Like, really? No, no. What? Oh yes, Andor, a nation that has sovereign right to any undersea gas and oil wells located within 200 kilometers of its coast. And in case of overlap, no one country may exploit those resources without the other's agreement. So it's clear, Pales is breaking the law by claiming sole ownership. Technically, no. Reinhardt's predecessor signed Andor, but the Duke has yet to ratify it. The Plesians furthermore state that as a sparsely populated island, Calcabez should not have the same maritime radius as mainland Rizia. But that's nonsense, right? It wouldn't hold up in international court. That's debatable, Your Majesty. With enough legal firepower and international support, Pales could have a case. Do we know how much gas the field retains? We still don't have exact numbers, but the surveys have confirmed that it's a lot. Quite possibly more than the current natural gas reserves of Rizia and Pales combined. In other words, whichever country controls the Aurelian field will become Barcopa's next energy superpower. Does Rizia need the gas from the field? I'll be blunt, Your Majesty. Our existing gas reserves are dwindling. Our expansion of the Ezequiz field will increase gas production, though access to even half of Ariel's would yield better results. President Elwald Afonso was pleased enough with our trade deal that he has hinted at offering us a stake in his own gas company, Gasom. But next year, Swedish elections may jeopardize that offer. That sounds promising nonetheless. Follow up on that lead if you can. Yes, I'll keep you posted. Swedish or otherwise, we could really use the gas to bolster our overall energy reserves. We're running low as it is, and we don't know what the future might bring. Yeah, we are running really freaking low. That's also on me. I keep exporting our energy to make up for money budgets. So, sorry about that. That's enough information. I'm ready to discuss her response. Very well. Lucitia raised a hand. Actually, I have some additional information that could influence our response. By all means, Duchess Cesaro, go on. She took out a photograph. It showed a number of men in business suits boarding a large vessel. Our intelligence in Pales managed to get a visual on the boat before it departed. This man here is a representative from Less Power and the Lesbian Energy Corporation. Hugo stared at her coldly. I was not informed that we had active intelligence operations in Pales. His Majesty and I made the decision to establish it. You were involved in this, Your Majesty? I thought the Wellen investigation took full precedence. You will not question Duchess Cesaro's ability to do her job. Lucitia flashed me a grateful smile. I would humbly ask my fellow counselors to focus on the content of these findings, not the methods used to obtain them. I do find it worrying that Lesbia is so heavily involved in this expedition. What this evidence proves is that it's not Pales alone asserting its claim to the field. Lesbia and by extension ATO is after the gas and all the money and power that comes with it. The photo sends a different message to me. Could it be possible that Lesbia pressured Pales into claiming the field and sending the ship? And if so, can we use that fact to drive a wedge between the two? Alternatively, we can find a compromise that involves all three of our countries. But then what happens if Morelia and the Vagslandian friends get involved? They won't be happy with ATO members drilling so far south. And that could lead to the kind of consequences I was warning you about earlier, Your Majesty. Laurento had a pained expression on his face. I still don't think we should give up on the possibility of negotiation. I know you and Duke Rienhart don't have much of a rapport, but it might not be too late to come to an understanding. He ruined his chances at reaching understanding when he sipped that ship. The ship has not started drilling yet. It should be he doesn't intend for it to do so. Perhaps we should at least discuss our diplomatic options. Or are you leaning towards any particular outcome? Can't we just split the field 50-50 with Pales? That's what we have legal claim to, isn't it? Yes, that's the outcome I was hoping for before this incident. But it seems that without the aid of a third party, sharing the field will be more difficult than expected. Do you mean asking the Alliance of Nations to arbitrate dispute? Correct, Your Majesty. And arbitration is the typical path in disputes like this. Unfortunately, arbitration is an expensive and time-consuming process, so they guarantee it would end in our favor. With that said, it's definitely the safest way to avoid a diplomatic incident. No, the AN will muddle everything up with its bureaucracy. I want to talk to Duke man-to-man. I will encourage you to try, Your Majesty. Is there a way we could claim the entire field for Rizia? Not without major diplomatic repercussions, I'm afraid. No matter which maritime boundaries you look at, it's clear that half of the field lies in Peletian territory. The only way for Rizian oil and gas to access the entire field would be to purchase the exploration rights from Pales. Sounds costlier than I envisioned, but we would certainly reap the rewards. Why don't we pursue that option? We could, but we have to remember that Lespia's involved. We know for a fact that Les Power has designs on the gas field. If we want the rights, we'll have to outbid them. Yeah. And before that, we'd have to convince Duke Rienhart that Rizia is a trustworthy partner, which may be difficult considering the shaky state of Rizian-Plesian relations. I would welcome any other suggestions from my counselor. You go clear his throat. If I may, Your Majesty, we still have not decided what to do about the Plesian drill ship. We have to do something, obviously. The Plesians must not be allowed to get away with this. I have one idea, Your Majesty, but my fellow counselors won't like it. She spoke slowly, as if thinking aloud. With His Majesty's blessing, the Rizian Navy could surround the field, preventing the drill ship from reaching its destination. Lorenzo looked up in outrage. Are you on your right mind, young lady? The Navy would be escalating the situation. Young lady, I know you come from a different generation, Mr. Escobil, but that address was completely out of line. Excuse me, Your Majesty, but only imputedness of youth could be behind such a rash response. Actually, my elder friend, Duchess Suzerain may have the right idea. Lorenzo looked at her indignously. Of course, we shouldn't fire on their ship, but a blockade would keep the gas field clear until we've had a chance to speak with Duke Rienhart. If we do end up in arbitration talks, Pales having an established presence in the Aurelian field would give an unwarranted edge. That settles it then. I want us to have a fighting chance to claim a rightful part of the field. I agree that asserting Rizian sovereignty is of utmost importance, especially knowing what we know about Lespia's involvement. But I'm wary of mirroring ourselves in another conflict. What if the Plesians call our bluff? That is a concern, Your Grace. We have a capable navy. We won't be able to outgun Pales if it comes down to that. This is not a decision to be taken lightly. I do not take Duke Rienhart's violation of the law lightly either. Our navy will show him that Rizia cannot be intimidated. Lucitia nodded. Lorenzo and Alina exchanged troubled glances. As you wish, Your Majesty. I'll make the order right away. Lorenzo attempted to smile. This will add a tense background in negotiations, to say the least, but I have faith it will work out for the best. That's the spirit, Lorenzo. I'm sure our ships will only be in place for a few days at most. I'll adjourn the meeting so Duchess Zaro may begin preparations. We will inform you of the Navy's position prior to our departure for Pales. I fully expect a peaceful resolution. This is a precaution. No need to justify it, Your Majesty. This is your decision. The meeting drew to a close. I spent a sleepless night in Fort Allies, wondering what would happen when the Rizian Navy reached destination. Yeah, I haven't exactly, you know, been pushing for the Navy to become that much better or anything, so... Good living standards! The general populace enjoys a comfortable quality of life, with access to essential amenities and moderate luxuries. Basic needs like housing, healthcare, and education are well catered for, contributing to a stable and contented society. While some disparities exist, the gap between the aristocracy and the common citizen is not overly pronounced, allowing for a sense of shared prosperity and social harmony. Nice! Arcacia secures Pyrrhic victory in South Xenon conflict. Arcacia emerged from South Xenon conflict bearing the hallmark of a Pyrrhic victory, with the toll of war casting long shadows over its future endeavors. The same campaign, though successful in reaffirming Arcacia's superpower status, a list of trail of devastation, populace wary of conflict. The implication of this prolonged military engagement extend beyond the immediate theater of war, particularly influencing Arcacia's strategic decision in regions such as Citral Lime and Rica, and its positions within the broader Mercopan geopolitical chessboard. Portagerzon. Dirty and Galcanist communities sheltering BFF. Internal security forces have informed us that Rizia's Dirtian community may be harboring fugitives from the British Freedom Front in Welland. As Victor Smellick's government cracks down on the separatist movement, an increasing number of Bloods are fleeing to Dirtia, and from there to Rizia via the Salabez Harbor. Our security forces will monitor the situation closely as it develops. Good. I'm glad to hear it. One restricts access to the Zil region. Welland has reduced travel access to disputed Zil region, making it particularly hard for non-Wessex citizens to visit the region. Local officials have cited security and risk of further terror attacks as reason for the temporary measure. And then we have the Navy deployed to our Rias gas field. By royal order, 6 ships from the Rizian Royal Navy have been deployed from Fort Alice Harbor to the area around the Rias gas field, which we have determined lies in both Rizian and Pelasian waters. The officials on board have been instructed to block any Pelasian vessels from entering the field, using Calabiz as a base to refuel and refresh their supplies. Yes, must be done. The Guild of Royal Alliances. Confederacy of Vizu requests support in uprising. Request support of the Confederacy of whatever. With instability in key states of Confederacy, such as the Sultan of Ragakara, Holy Isles of Penguvi, and the Duchy of Taramin, the situation rapidly deteriorating. Prince Consort Kalbian Sangtam leads the effort to maintain monarchic control and suppress the uprising, but the resource stretched thin. In request for grace solidarity, Viridium turns to Guide for assistance. Refrains of support, send of energy reserves, offer financial aid. Oh, I can't look at... Because I'm tempted to just send them military equipment. It would send a strong... It would send a strong word to our alliances in grace if I sent, like, an extensive military equipment support. But I also want those for me in the future. I don't want to offer financial aid. I could just send energy reserves. I've been selling it anyways, but I don't think it'll send as big of a meaningful response as sending stuff like that. But I'll just send them some energy reserves. Shipments of gas leave for Venetium. The natural gas promised to Venetian Prince Consort Kalbian Sangtam has left the harbor of Monkeys, sealing the commitment of our kingdom to international solidarity in the face of great challenges against established fellow monarchies. Oh, and what do we have for... Apparently we have something that appeared here. Yeah. We have expansions for bases. Oh, we do have the ability to do this with our 3 budget if we want to by the end. We just can't do this one, which I do really want extra energy. Expand Fort Alice Naval Base, a strategic initiative to expand and modernize Fort Alice Naval Base, bolstering our naval protection and defensive capabilities. The project will boost defenses around the facilities and heavily expand the dockyards. This degree also enhances naval invasion support capabilities, ensuring readiness for any maritime conflict, although it may strain our current budgetary allocations. Expand towards Air Force Base. The Terrador Air Force Base is poised for substantial expansion that has substantially increased its aircraft capabilities. The strategic development is aimed at strengthening the Air Force's operational capabilities, ensuring preparedness for a wide range of aerial missions and potential conflicts. In addition, a portion of the budget is dedicated to research projects at an integrated manufacturing facility. These projects are focused on enhancing the effectiveness of bombing and aerial combat, further optimizing the Air Force combat efficiency, and strengthen Pale's border fortifications. In a resolve to bolster our territorial sanctity and fortify our historic claim, the kingdom intends to reinforce the established network of trenches and defenses along the Rizia and Pale's boundary. Eradicated a mere 2 decades ago, these fortifications have steadfastly stood guard against potential adversaries. By amplifying these structures, Rizia not only asserts its unwavering dominion over the Pale's administrative district, but further guarantees enduring security for its people and border realm. I am tempted to do that as well. But for now, let's go to the Grand Duchy of Pales, a meeting with Duke Rienhart. It was my first visit to Pales since becoming King of Rizia. Titus and I stood side by side, peering out the window by Castle Rienhart. The Grand Duchy's royal residence was built on the foundation of an ancient palico, one of the stone fortifications that gave Pale his name. After his coronation, Duke Axel Rienhart had hired an up-and-coming local architect to expand the old building into a swooping, bulging wood and glass structure that seemed almost alive. The reception room had been moved to the top floor and boasted enormous curved windows with a view of the Pale skyline. Its soaring angular skyscrapers were unlike anything built in Rizia. So this is the Pales of Antician? Amazing what lesbian money can buy, isn't it? Amazing is one word for it, sir. So you've never been to Pales before? No, sir. My father fought here in the operations to take it back. Actually, he was killed here. gave his life for a good cause. He believed in it with all his heart. He never turned against King Valero. A panel in the wall slid open, and a secretary clad in pastel mini-dress emerged. She motioned for me to enter. Into the breach. Good luck, sir. The secretary announced my entrance. I stepped into the room as we were greeted by Duke Reinhardt. The Pelesian ruler hadn't aged a day since we last met. He was tall, square-jawed, with looks out of an adventure serial. I recalled that the tabloid had nicknamed him Duke Dashing. He maintained eye contact as he bowed to me. Your Majesty, we meet again. No ministers, no aides? I thought it best to try and settle this business between ourselves, like in the old days. The secretary left, closing the door behind her. The Duke and I took seats on opposite sides of a wooden conference table. His posture was casual, even as he regarded me with intensity. I'll be honest with you, Your Majesty. I never expected my brother to abdicate. I was perfectly happy, living a life of leisure, coasting off the family fortune, enjoying the odd celebrity rendezvous. Life is full of surprises, Your Grace. Should we get down to our negotiations? Wait, what is there to negotiate? He sighed and slid a report across the table towards me. My security minister woke me up at midnight with this, assured that Pales had every right to begin drilling in the Aurelius gas field. Now our ship finds itself in a standoff with the Rizian Navy. Tell me, Your Majesty, what is the meaning of this? Your country sending the drill ship was an act of provocation. I had no choice but to respond in kind. You could have waited for me to state my case. Instead, you proved once more that you have no respect for the Pelesian sovereignty. We respect your sovereignty. It doesn't mean you can steal our gas from us. It is disrespectful to claim the sovereignty of our nation, however young, is equal to that of a neglected speck of a Rizian island. I saw intensity in his eyes. You know, Your Majesty, we Reinhardts have ruled Pales for as long as the tourists have ruled Rizia. Yes, Pales was part of the Valgos Empire, but we developed our own laws and customs, even our own language. When the Empire fell apart, what were we supposed to do? Simply give up everything we had built? I'm trying to be diplomatic here. In my heart, I don't even think you deserve to be independent, but I'm trying to be diplomatic. I would have done that before turning to Lesbia. You don't know what you would have done. I heard what it was like back then, Rizia Morella picking at us like vultures, goddamn Vagsland trying to provoke a revolution for the sideline. Lesbia was the only nation willing to support our independence. They supported our independence by making you independent on them, by making us wealthy, by getting us the capacity to defend ourselves against aggressors like you. Have you met their new Prime Minister? Do you trust him? His gaze hardened as he looked at me. I trust Preciso Alvarez more than I trust you. We have an obligation to Lesbia. When they ask us for natural gas, we can hardly refuse. So you see, Your Majesty, we can't let Rizia take it from us, not without a fight. You are not the only country with obligations, and the gas field is large enough to split. Sharing a gas field requires close collaboration. You'll excuse me if I don't feel collaborating with Rizia right now. We don't have to collaborate, just stay on respective sides. There's too much potential for disagreement, which Rizia has already proved itself incapable of handling. Before we continue this conversation, I must insist you withdraw your navy. I don't know. You know what? No. Every time I make a decision, I feel like I'm making the wrong one. Absolutely not. My ships are staying right where they are. Duke Reinhardt paled. He swallowed before speaking. That's it, then. I see no choice but to call in the UN for arbitration. Oh yet, if it is said, so it is, so it will be. I never cared for those old Warrisis saws. You're respecting our religion now. You're disrespecting our religion now. I'm as God-fearing as the next man, but we can't stay beholden to the words of old saints forever. In any event, you will send your ships away peacefully once you lose. Respect whatever the Ain decides, as long as their judgment is fair and unbiased. I'll hold you to that, your majesty. As long as it's fair and unbiased, which it probably will be. He reached under his desk and pressed an intercom button. Hilda, be a doll and help show his majesty the way out of the building. Wouldn't want him getting lost. He sat back in his chair and scrutinized me closely. You do understand that as long as your navy's in our waters, we are obligated to send our ships to join yours. By all means, do. You're playing a very dangerous game. I truly hope we could come to a peaceful resolution through the Alliance of Nations, for your sake, mostly. Duke Reinhardt's secretary opened the door. He stood up and gestured for me to do the same. I'll see you in court, King Ramus. Until then, Duke Reinhardt. I rejoined Titus in the reception room. We followed Hilda through winding corridors to the front door. We stepped outside into the waning sunlight. We waited until we were out of the building shadow to speak. How did it go, your majesty? Not great. Not great at all. Titus nodded wordlessly. We got into the car and began a long trip back to Port Hadrazan. Well, here we go! ANDOR, Arius Arbitration Procedure. The Andor Alliance of Nations Directive of Offshore Resources procedure is in effect to resolve the dispute over the Arius glass field, contested by Rizia and Pales. This procedure, under the 1942 AN Directive, aims for a fair allocation of resources, balancing sovereign rights and international law to achieve an equitable solution. CSP deploys medium-range missiles in San Samia base. The strategic calculus of East Rica is undergoing significant transformation. Of the CSP installs in medium-range missiles in the San Samia base, amid whispers of potential nuclear capabilities. It's a high-stake exchange. San Samia has sanctioned the establishment of this military stronghold in exchange for a lucrative financial aid package, dominated in billions of its national currency. This assertive military move by the CSP has stirred the pot of regional geopolitics, inciting concerns among neighboring nations and international observers about the burgeoning arms race and its implications for the delicate peace in the region. It might be time to, instead of focusing on, nice stuff like, building up my naval stuff, it might be time to work on some stuff down here instead. Coming up. Attend House of Delegates session. Rizian People's Party leader Banas Sazan has invited the king to attend a session of the House of Delegates. He is slated to propose what he has called a landmark proposal regarding the rights of workers in Rizia. Oh, I've got to attend the session and give the final ruling of the proposal in question. I have to say no, though. I'm gonna be saying no because of my deal I made. So, woo! Yay! Let's go! Alright. Man, that was like the shortest meeting I've had in a while with down there in Pales. Like, that did not last long. That was a short one. But I think this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.